I'd like to call this meeting to order. Jeremy, roll call, please.
Mr. Mitchell.
Here.
Mrs. McMackin.
Here.
Mrs. Mars.
Here.
Mr. Frazier.
Here.
Mr. Ford.
Here. All right, pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, everyone has had an opportunity to view the minutes. Any questions or concerns on the minutes? If not, I will take a motion to approve the minutes from March 28th.
So moved.
We have a second. All right. Steve and Sean. All right. All those in favor of approving the March 28th minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right. Motion passes. Now we need to approve the agenda for this evening. We have a motion to approve the agenda. Kelly.
Second.
All right, Steve with a second. All right. All those in favor of approving the agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, now this is my favorite time of the year. We have what some people might know, that we have the world's best treasurer that works for Piqua City Schools, that he receives awards every single year. That he makes it. No, I'm just kidding. But he, I left your business card. Oh, nope. Joe Braden is here to speak on Jeremy's behalf and the school system for their reporting for the treasurer's office.
All right. It's great to be here tonight on behalf of Ohio Auditor State Keith Faber. And it's great to be here again, I guess I should say, and a key word being again, because our office loves to do good audits. And as you pointed out, it's great to come here and see your entity year in and year out provide that to us so that we're able to present this to your taxpayers and let them know that you guys are doing a fantastic job here. So I want to let you know that this puts the city of Piqua in a very select group. The Auditor State audits nearly 6,000 entities, and less than 4% are even eligible for this award. The Auditor State Award is presented to local governments and school districts upon the completion of a financial audit which meet the following criteria. Bear with me for a minute because I'm going to read through this criteria here so everybody knows what it takes for this to happen. The Auditor State Award is, the entity must file financial reports with the Auditor State's office by the statutory due date without extension on a GAAP basis and prepare an annual comprehensive financial report. The audit report must not contain any findings for recoveries or any material citations, must not contain any material weaknesses or significant deficiencies, any uniform guidance findings, or any questioned costs. The entity's management letter must contain no comments related to any ethics referrals, any questioned costs less than the threshold per uniform guidance, any lack of timely annual financial reports submissions, any bank reconciliation issues, a failure to obtain a timely single audit, any findings for recoveries, or any public meetings or public records issues. And the entity shall have no other financial or any type concerns. This award it represents the hard work of all your school employees here and the financial staff who make an effort each day to attain accounting excellence. I want to recognize all the board members, superintendent, and everybody that do an outstanding job watching over every dollar here at Piqua City School District. But Jeremy, if you'd step up here with me, I specifically would like to recognize your treasurer, Jeremy Hiddle, for his outstanding leadership, professionalism, and commitment to fiscal integrity. Congratulations, Jeremy. On behalf of Ohio Auditor State Keith Faber, I would like to present the Ohio Auditor State Award with distinction.
Thank you.
There you go. Congratulations. All right. Congratulations, everyone.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Is it okay if I?
It is okay. Unless you want to stay, but it's okay.
You know, I was an elected official for years, so I appreciate what you guys do. So take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Congratulations.
I always say that this isn't possible, as he said, without everybody on the staff, my staff and the entire district doing all the things that we're required to do. So sometimes I may harp on them, but there is a purpose for it. So there's a good group of them back there. They realize that. They have Sarah to help keep them this straight.
Correct.
All right. Well, congratulations, Jeremy. I was surprised. I was blown away that you're getting awards today. And, I'm just kidding. No hearing of the public agenda items, and so we'll move right to our treasurer's agenda.
All right, does anybody have any questions about the financial reports? We are on target to end the year in the black, and I don't have any concerns at this point in time about where we're at. Actually, we're running ahead of target, so we're doing well. Can't complain. Next item that we have tonight is a fund-to-fund transfer, and this is to pay for the high school renovation project that we did. So we moved money out of the permanent improvement account over to the debt service account to pay for the COPS issue that we did to renovate the high school. So that's the fund-to-fund transfer that's listed. And the third thing on the agenda tonight is the student accident insurance program, and we vote on this every year. Melinda pulled the two companies that we have to select from and compared all the options and pricing and everything, and ended up that we're going to continue with Health Specialty Risk, which is a Mutual of Omaha company. And again, we don't have enrollment numbers or anything on that because of FERPA, so we have no idea of who's participating and what's going on with that. So,
Do we have a lot that participate in that? I mean, like in past years?
we never get the information. They're not allowed to release it. So we select something and hope that people are using it, but they can't give us any information on the number of people or anything that take it because we ask, and it's not something they can disclose. That's all I have.
All right. Any questions for Jeremy? All right. So we need a motion to approve the treasurer's agenda.
I so move.
Jojo, and then we need a second. Sean. All right. Jeremy, will you call roll?
Mr. Mitchell. Mrs. Mars.
Aye.
Mrs. McMacken.
Aye.
Mr. Frazier. Mr. Ford.
Aye. All right. Treasurer's agenda is approved. Moving on to the superintendent's report.
Thank you. We'd like to start by recognizing our music department. They recently received a distinction for Best Communities for Music Education. It was an application that Mr. Wyatt Hines had put together and gathered information on. He presented that, and then we qualified for it. So I think many of us in this room have had children in the music department. They are a tremendous asset to our students in our district. They are phenomenal at their work. They really, truly are, and this is a very well-deserved honor. Before we give them their certificates, we do have a video that we would like to show that just kind of spotlights some of the music K through 12 throughout our district. So just a few photos and images, but they sure capture the greatness of the work that you guys do. It really is tremendous, and we are beyond proud of our music department. So thank you for all the incredible time and energy and talent that you put into the program. Would you like to say anything since you filled it out?
Yeah.
If you do, could you go to the microphone there so people at home could hear?
So we just want to thank the community. Like, it says it for itself. It's the, we're recognizing the community and the district itself, not just us and our students and the staff, but as a whole. Piqua has a long history of support from the community, and it wouldn't be possible without them. So we really appreciate that. I've seen this for the past couple of years, and I keep meaning to do it and apply because I knew we could, get the award, but I just didn't get to it this year, and it was awesome, and I was super excited. There were 975 schools from across the country that received this award, and so to be one of those 975 is really, really exciting. So thank you to everyone here, and the staff, and the board, and the community for that.
I would just like to add that it is a community support for music education, but we couldn't do that without you guys, helping us do that too. It's great to have a supportive community, but you guys really allow us to do the things that we do, and we appreciate that.
You make it easy. You do. You make it easy to support. Mr. Ford, our president of the board here, has certificates for each of you, and we have banners for you to hang in your rooms too.
Alex? Congratulations. Appreciate it. Sorry. Yes. Wyatt? Congratulations. Tom? Mr. Westphal? Thank you, sir. And this, you want to give this to Mrs. Palmer?
I will, yep.
Mr. Detweiler? Congratulations, sir. Mr. Mahaney?
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Last but not least.
Well, we got a couple right here from David Borman and Kristen Gebhardt. And
We can get those to them.
Oh, yeah, Alex.
there you go. All right. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
You're welcome to stay, or you're also welcome.
Thank you.
Yep. Yeah. The ones that aren't here are actually doing music programs tonight, so go figure. That's right. So.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Congrats.
You guys make it wonderful.
Thank you. Great kids, great community, great support.
While Jeremy's doing that, we'll move on to our next recognition because our principal at Washington needs to get to their music program. So they just recently received the Purple Star designation, and it's the first district in our first school in our district that is receiving this, and it recognizes the schools that show a major commitment to students and families connected to the nation's military. Schools that earn the award will receive a special Purple Star recognition to display on site. So would you mind coming up, Heather, and talk a little bit about what we're doing here? And then there's a banner up there to present to you.
Good evening. So I invited Kara Kuhn, our teacher, who is currently on active duty right now, but she was the brains behind this application process for the Purple Star designation. And she does a lot of the work as a military-connected person to support our students and their families. So she and I worked together, and she completed the application, and we added some layers this year to the support that we provide for our military-connected youth. In our particular building, we only have 4 students right now who have parents on active duty. But we know we have other families who are connected beyond their immediate family. So this year, we of course participate in the Veterans Program that we do as a district, but we also did some activities just highlighting those students. So we did the Purple It Up campaign a couple of weeks ago, where the whole school dressed in purple in support of children whose parents might be deployed. And so we brought those 4 children to the forefront and talked with them. When Kara returns to school from not being on active duty, her plan is to have a monthly luncheon with the students who are connected, so that she's providing that one-on-one support with them. So she is our liaison. We do have a secondary liaison, Lindsay Vincent, whose husband is involved in the military, so she's connected there and can help support those children as well. We've done a couple of spirit weeks for the military. We're doing another one here near Memorial Day for a military spirit week. But Kara has updated our, and Eric has helped us. We could. update our school homepage. So there is an icon that says we're a Purple Star school, and when you click on that, if you're a family new to the area and you're looking for that, which some are, you can see the resources that Kara has put together that we can provide. So Eric will find that for us, but schools, there we go. And this will be something that we add to as the years go on. We're very new to the Purple Star designation, so we will layer things on as we add to them. But if you go to resources, there's a whole list of connections that families can make here in the community. And then Kara being on site is a great opportunity for families to connect as well.
Thank you for putting that together. It really, it's a great thing that we're showing support for the families who also do a lot of sacrificing when they have family members that are serving in the military. So it's great that you're supporting those students and those families. So thank you for that.
And one of the interesting things that we're doing this month of May is an honor wall. So any child can bring in a picture of someone connected to the military and their family, and we have a world map. And so we're linking it to some of our other standards with looking at where these folks might have been deployed and learning about where our military folks go. So
Fantastic.
Here's a poster for your school. Congratulations.
And now go watch your music program. Thank you for being here. Speaking of the military, I shared with you a while back ago that our guest speaker for graduation this year is going to be from the graduating class of 1973, U.S. Navy Vice Admiral James P. Weisskopf. So we were so excited about having him come and talk to the students. Tom Hudson, who is also a member of that class, has been working on a project to honor him. So he wanted to come tonight and tell you a little bit about that and fill you in on some of those details. So, Mr. Hudson.
Thank you. Good evening, Board of Education. I've got a lot of friends here, so good to see everybody. I'm standing here 51 years next month after I graduated Piqua Central, 1973, and it's just hard to believe. We had our 50th class reunion last fall, and we had 305 students graduate, and I believe we had about 55 who had passed away. And that's just amazing. I remember at my 20th class reunion in 1993, I remember guys and people in Piqua that I knew were having their 50th class reunion. I said, I'm glad I'm not them. Those are the old people. And here I am a year out of my 50th class reunion. But I stand here as a proud member of the class of 1973. You know, a ton of us all over Piqua were thick as thieves. And a lot of us had stayed around Piqua, and just a lot of good folks in our class. And one of our classmates, Admiral Phil Weisskopf, was appointed by William McCullough to the Naval Academy in 1973. Matter of fact, that same year in March, we had Bill Ball was released from the prison, and I remember having the big parade downtown, and he came to Piqua High School, and it was just wonderful. So Bill McCullough retired in '73, and he was Phil Weisskopf was the last person that he appointed to the Naval Academy, and that same year, Bill McCullough also retired, and then passed away about 2 or 3 years later, maybe '77. So anyhow, Phil went to the Naval Academy and retired about 11 years ago in 2013 with a 36-year career in the Navy, and retired as 3-star Vice Admiral. A lot of Piqua Daily Call articles were put in the paper about Phil's progress as once he achieved Admiral. And when I taught at Piqua High School, Chief Mark Scott out there told me, he said, whatever Phil did to earn Admiral, he earned it. He said, from that point on, it's kind of like the bit of the politics of the business. And I remember asking Phil, how long do you think you'll stay in? And he said, as long as I'm having fun and enjoying myself. And so Jim Graham was another graduate at '73, and he started the traveling, and we all jumped on board over the next several years. His first job was director of the Situation Room at the White House. And so he could take 7 of us per night to take a tour of the West Wing. And he was serving, Condoleezza Rice was his boss and served under George W. Bush. So I was able to go back-to-back years, and we'd come up to the Oval Office, and there was a nice barrier there of velvet, and he said, put your foot under that velvet. And he said, now you can tell people you've been in the Oval Office, you know. So that whole West Wing was kind of quaint and kind of neat. And you know, he went on and became just unbelievable jobs. I had him back at the house with a bunch of classmates, and he got his second star, and he was strike group commander of the Ronald Reagan. And that means he wasn't just the head dog of the Ronald Reagan, he was head of all the ships in that area. And then he spoke at the Piqua Education Foundation banquet, and he talked about where he'd been his whole life. And some youngster asked a question. He said, well, Admiral, how did you become president of the Naval War College? He said, I picked up the telephone. And he said, well, what happens if you don't want to do that? And he said, well, that's why they call them orders, you know. And so Randy Pearson and Carolyn and Barbara and I went out and visited him at his last station, got to meet his wife for the first time in 13, and he was Inspector General of the Navy, and then he retired. They were asking people to retire so next people could move up. So anyhow, today I'm announcing that we had lunch with Superintendent in December. He asked Phil to be the commencement speaker, so that I believe will be a 10-minute talk on May 24th. And then I have been busy raising money for the Weiss Cup Honor Garden, which will be right out in front of Piqua High School. The footer has already been poured, and the landscaping most likely will start next week. This is 100% donation funded. Piqua City Schools is handling all the finances and disbursements, and of course those records will be open. And since you're getting all kinds of awards here tonight, we're in good hands. So Piqua has honored, if I look back in some of the history, and I've worked a little bit with Andy Height about who admirals and generals from Piqua. And the first one that's been, and if you ever go across the Shawnee Bridge and we have the cannon over there, that's Admiral Stephen Rowan. And he was a Civil War admiral that came from England as a young boy. And the Piqua Public Library now has a wonderful display upstairs on the second floor about all what he did, and there's several ships named after him. But he came to Piqua as a young boy. The second person is a well-known citizen of Piqua, Hall of Famer, William P. Orr. He served as a general in World War I, and of course his name is all over Piqua, at the Ormont Estate, Orr Flesh Building, or Statler building, the Fort Piqua Plaza as we know it today. And then there was another one that came up on the Piqua history page, General Kenneth W. Benner, and he was a brigadier general in World War II. So there's three, and then all of the research that we can do, this is the only ones I know about, and then we have Admiral Phil Weisskopf. So it's kind of a big deal, and to wrap things up, a couple years ago I said to Phil, I said, you know, I've been wanting to do something to honor you. And he looked at me in all humbleness, he said, really? Why would you do that? I was like, well, this is kind of a big deal, you know, 3-star admiral, and when he retired, there were 600,000 people in the Navy, and he was ranked in the top 50. And so I kept thinking, maybe the city should do something, maybe the school should do something. And you know, if you want something done in life, you just sometimes got to go do it. So I'm doing it. I'm representing the class of 1973. And so I passed out the financials right now of it's going to be basically a $17,500 and $18,000 project. Piqua City Schools has graciously donated the land, and we're going to be on the opposite side on the sidewalk, where the memorial for the students who passed away. We're going to be at the other end, thanks to Jeremy. We went out there one day, and he started throwing ideas out, and I thought, man, this is good, this is what I'm looking for. And so we're going to put it right there, and I've got a tent ordered from Jocko's. We're going to have a sound system, and to wrap things up, Senator Sherrod Brown is coming. J.D. Vance has been invited, but at this point, he says that he's got a scheduling conflict, and I'm thinking he's a Marine, he's in Cincinnati, he needs to get up here. Warren Davison is going to be the keynote speaker. Steve Huffman, our state senator, will be here. Wade Westfall will represent the county, and Mayor Lee will be representing the city for proclamations. I've been trying to get a anchor from the U.S. Navy, and I'm not having too much success, but I'm not giving up even if it takes another year from now. I want to add an anchor. We're going to have a nice black granite stone with Phil's picture on it, and then on the back will be his commands held. It'll be surrounded by beautiful gray flagstone with landscape around it. It's just going to look wonderful, and it's something I'd like you all to get behind, tell everybody you know. You've got my email, my address. It's Thomas D. Hudson. And my phone number is 937-418-9199. And so we are still actively looking for donations to fund this project. And I'll take any questions if anybody has any right at this point. All good? All right.
It's
Thank you very
fantastic.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Tom.
See you later.
Thanks, Tom.
Quite the undertaking, quite the project.
He's the perfect guy for the job.
Yeah, yeah.
He's getting it done.
He is, yeah.
That's awesome.
It's exciting to watch it all come together.
Yeah.
Yeah. Be great for our kids, too.
Good initiative here.
Next is just, I want to bring attention to the Piqua District Art Show that is going to be on April the 27th. That's this Saturday from 1 to 5 at Piqua Central Intermediate. Just like our music department, our art department is amazing. They work with students all year long on the projects and the portfolios that they do. And then they pick some of that artwork, kindergarten through 12th, from all the schools to represent, you know, what happens in our art program. So they do a really great display. It has packed out every year. Just to point out this year, we are going to make sure the back doors are open and people can also park in the back, because we've had so many people parking on the street and trying to find, you know, how they can get access to the building. So we're going to open up all the doors so that people can access it very easily and park closer to the building and get easy access. So hope we just get a lot of people from the public to come and see that artwork, because it's just another great example of the wonderful things our students are doing and our teachers are doing with them. Next is the curriculum department is going to talk a little bit about the English language arts adoption. We've talked a little bit about it last meeting and gave you some information to look at, so you can kind of, again, come with some questions and some things that you have. But our two experts that have worked all year long with our teachers on this project are Teresa Anderson and Kara Williams. They're going to come up here and talk a little bit about the program.
I know we usually prefer brief, but this is such an important decision in terms of what we do in the elementary school that I'm not going to be super brief, but I promise not to be too long either. I think it's important to lay the groundwork, first of all, to help everybody understand that an ELA adoption this year is unlike anything we've ever done in the past. Primarily because there's so many things that have changed in the world of teaching reading, and because now there's a lot of legislation that has impacted what we do. So just recently there was legislation passed that all districts in Ohio had to use a certain type of curriculum that was on a list that we could choose from the state, and it had to be aligned with the science of reading. And I think that's really important for everybody to understand, because it does look different than where the freedoms that we've had before to select materials however we wanted. The other thing that I think it's really important for people to understand is just this whole concept of the science of reading and how teaching reading has evolved over the years. And this is my 35th year of education, so I am well aware of how it has evolved over the years and how it's changed even from the time that I taught up till now. So I just want to make sure that we understand that. So to that point, when we talk about the science of reading and what we've learned over the years and what has been discovered, it's really important to understand. You'll hear a lot of things. You'll hear things like the simple view of reading, the science of reading, and Scarborough's rope. Those are like the three things that you hear everywhere when you're looking at reading stuff. And so I grabbed this visual because I think it's really helpful for people to understand where this all comes from. So at the bottom you see green strands feeding into this rope. That represents the foundational skills, the decoding and word recognition part of reading, which is a huge part, especially in K-1-2 early years, where you're really learning how to read, foundational skills. The top part of the rope is the knowledge and language part and comprehension part of reading, which we usually think of starting second grade. I mean, you still comprehend in kindergarten, first and second, but when you start to read yourself to comprehend material, it starts happening second grade on up. And each one of those ropes represents different parts of ELA that we have to teach in order for a child to be able to read. And when you hear the simple view of reading, it talks about two things. It talks about the decoding, which again is the screen part of the rope, And then it talks about language comprehension, which is this part. And the simple view just says you can't have comprehension without all of these pieces coming together and getting more tightly woven as they work their way through the reading curriculum. So both parts, knowledge and content and comprehension, as well as the foundational skills. So in the past, the pendulum has swung back and forth. We've had programs very strong in phonics. When I first started teaching, programs were very strong in those blue and purple areas because we did whole language, where we focused a lot on stories and content and reading, and not as much on phonics. And then the pendulum swung again, and we went back to phonics. And then we found out that if you spend too much time on phonics, it impacts the comprehension on the other end. So it's really important to understand all that. Because when I talk today about a comprehensive program, that's what our goal was when we started out reviewing materials. We've had very isolated programs that addressed each parts of those ropes, but it never came together very well because each one was a separate entity and they didn't combine, and they didn't always connect well. And so when we sought input from teachers, one of the things that they said was that we absolutely want a comprehensive program that has all the pieces and parts to it, rather than trying to get different programs and melding them together. So that was a very strong teacher input part. The other, we got input from students. And what students told us was that they really wanted more opportunities to read about things. They wanted to learn about stuff, using their words. They wanted to learn about stuff. That was what made reading much more fun to them, rather than just doing isolated paragraphs or topics that jumped around and never came together for them. So that was their input. When we talked to principals, they said that what they wanted too was a comprehensive program, because when you're trying to do professional development and help teachers become experts, when they're doing so many different programs, it's hard to become an expert at all those pieces and parts. So again, a comprehensive program that all came together and met all of their needs. When we talked to parents, their input was they wanted ideas and resources that they could use at home to help their children and to extend what they were learning at school. So all that being said, we went through a typical process, just like we did last year with mathematics. We did a teacher survey, got their information, we created a rubric. Because of the requirement from the state to make sure that the resources that we chose from were considered high quality instructional materials and were on the approved list from the state, we did a lot of background work, thanks to the help of Kiera and the academic coaches. They did a ton of work vetting all kinds of programs so that we could narrow it down. Had a teacher committee, they reviewed it, used rubrics, went through everything, and decided upon the program that we're going to recommend that the board adopt. One other thing that I really wanted to point out as I go through that, if you would like to hand these out to everybody. One of the things that that was a selling point for everyone involved was the knowledge and the content part associated with this program. So the graphic that I'm giving you is, as you can see, different images all woven together. So one of the really cool things about Amplify was that rather than just picking random kind of stories, many traditional programs, they'll have stories about friends, they'll have stories about neighborhoods, bears, fairy tales, all kinds of things. But they were very isolated. You read about it, it was great, and then you moved on to a different topic. And there was never a deep dive into anything. And so Amplify is known for the deep dive into the content, and that's what kids find interesting and get engaged in. Not only did they just look for topics that they thought students would be interested in, but one of the key things that they did was they researched what types of articles and passages appear in standardized tests. What is the content about? One of the things that our kids struggle most with in standardized tests is they're reading articles about things that they have no background knowledge of, no connection to. And it makes it very challenging when you don't know about something to be able to read it and understand it. And so when they identified these common patterns of what types of passages are being used in state tests, they use that as the basis for developing the units in their program. And so you see this image, it kind of shows you some of the kind of topics that they talk about. So history, animals, mythology, lots of different things that are common threads throughout the program. And then the other really, really cool part about that is that's how they develop their units over time. And so they start a topic in kindergarten and it continues to grow all the way through the different grade levels. It takes a different type of focus, but it continues. So we talk about history, we talk about our bodies, because kids love learning about, how does your heart work? How does your brain work? What do your muscles do? Kids really get fascinated with that kind of stuff. So when they develop their units, they continue to progress throughout all the elementary grades and just taking it into different directions and deeper understanding. But then those topics are so critical because now they have background knowledge, huge vocabularies, and have been exposed to things that they're going to hear, see, encounter many times throughout their career, even when they get into high school, because many of the topics then build on things that they're going to eventually learn about in depth in some grade level. So it's giving them that background knowledge and vocabulary so that they can be more successful when they're put in situations where they have to be able to comprehend complex tests on complex subjects and be able to write about it as well. And I was telling, just as a side note, I was telling Kira, the funny thing was when we first started looking at these topics, I was kind of interested in, I was really very curious, why they chose the topics that they chose, because some of them wasn't sure, how kids would react to them. But we went and visited other schools. We've contacted other schools, and they said the kids love the topics. They love learning about it. They do class projects. They do all kinds of great fun stuff based on these topics, and that's really exciting for us to know. And when you think about just being well-rounded, educated people, I laughed and I said, one of my indulgences in life is that my mother and I go to the Schuster Center. We have season tickets to the Schuster Center, and just in the last 2 years, some of the performances there. Hadestown, Greek mythology, Hamilton, history. Six is coming up, which is Henry VIII's 6 wives, and that's so. I've actually, when I thought about that, I thought, without knowing the background of that, you can go to those kind of things and you can enjoy them, but you don't understand and get the depth of what's happening in the performance unless you know the background and the history and the characters and all of that. And so that's what this is all about, giving kids that background and history that's just going to come up all the time in all different kinds of experiences the rest of their life and make them very well educated, well-rounded, knowledgeable kiddos. And so that was one of the great selling points of this program. For us in terms of how it hits all the components, the foundational skills, that green part of the rope, as well as the blue part of the rope, which is all the knowledge and comprehension and vocabulary. And that's really important because we also have data that tells us our kids are coming without that, and so we definitely need to build it up. So I believe You received materials that go into great depth about the science of reading and Scarborough's rope and all those things. So hopefully a little overview there was kind of helpful for you to help understand all of that. And then also, like I said, if you're interested in that program guide and seeing how all those units develop over time, those are in the resources that we shared with you as well. So, any questions for us?
Are our teachers excited about this program? I mean, is this something our teachers are looking forward to doing?
Yes, I mean, like I said, we had a committee. They reviewed lots of different materials, and I think the selling point for us, JoJo, was when we went to visit other schools, and they got to see, and we took staff members with us, and they got to see how they embraced the topics, and they got to do school-wide activities because the topics build on each other, so you could do school-wide kinds of things. For example, we went to kindergarten. We went into a kindergarten classroom, and they had just finished up learning about kings and queens and royalty, and they were getting ready to have a tea, and they had made crowns, and they were going to be princes and princesses and dressed up, and they learned all about, so they came in, and the parents were coming, and they just had a great time. We went into a 5th grade classroom, and they were learning, they were doing one of the history units, and yeah, Paul Revere, and they had, I just remember, lanterns and people dressed up in costumes, and they were, so it was really fun to see how they could create units, and thematic and fun stuff as a result of that. I believe it's Salina. If you go onto Salina School's website, they are in their 3rd year of implementation to this, and we talked to them about it as well. And they have all kinds of pictures on their website about different activities that they've done as their school based on the themes and the topics. And so that's been kind of what we heard at everybody we talked to, was that continuation of ideas and themes just lend itself to be able to do a lot of fun, creative stuff that has kind of been lacking because there hasn't been continuity in topics and subjects. So from the committee's point of view and what they had heard and what they'd seen, they felt like it was going to be an exciting thing to be able to go down that road, be able to do more thematic kind of things with our kids.
So this will come into effect in the fall?
Yes.
So this might be kind of a silly question, but what will this mean for our existing students and what they begin to see transitioning into this program?
Great question. So one of the topics that we talked about with our representatives and other people was that obviously the first year, since everything is built on each other, if you're a 3rd grader and you didn't have those previous years, what happens to you when you walk in? There is also a digital program called Boost that is a part of this, and they say, they have told us that program will also help fill the gaps because it goes back and revisits some of the topics and goes over the vocabulary so they can quickly catch up on the content that they may have missed before. But we also know we'll have to do some going back and explaining and making sure that that we fill any gaps that kids don't have. There's going to be a lot of vocabulary that students haven't acquired yet that we'll have to make sure that we address with them, as well as just background knowledge.
So the student can expect to notice a difference
Yes.
in what they're learning.
Yeah. And I think that's going to be a very positive thing for them, because when the principals talk to their students group, every single student group said, we just really want more time to be able to read about cool stuff. So, and then, when they shared with them some of the topics and the things, they were really excited about it. So I think that will help.
As far as the cost of the program, is that on par with other other, like the math curriculum that came in last year? I don't know what.
You have this.
Sure, I got all the numbers for you, so I'll give you the big rundown, because that's what I do. $932,622.88 for 6 years is the cost of this program. These fine ladies knocked $293,727 off the price that got it down to $638,895.88. And the state of Ohio, in their ever so great wisdom, decided that we did not have this program in place, so they gave us a pretty good maximum amount, 28.5% of that, or $182,236.83. And so that would lower it down to $106,482.65 over the 6 years per year. And then when you add in what the state paid, the total program that the taxpayers of Piqua will pay is $465,659.05, or $76,109.84 a year, which is less than, I believe, what we paid per year for the math program.
That's a 50% discount of the
So
program,
we
correct?
definitely knocked it down.
That's awesome. I mean, I saw on the sheet that there's a big discount of what it costs
Yes.
to what we're paying, and that's even less. What you said is even less than what's on the sheet, I think.
Which is
Because
actually
the state of Ohio money just showed up.
Okay.
That was that's
just
a
this
brand
week
new
we
line.
found. Last week we found out how much we were getting from that.
Well, that's awesome. I mean, that's fantastic.
But that goes back to the what
How
I
do we
said
get
earlier.
the discount, the big discount? Like you guys got us.
Negotiating some things and really looking
We kept
at.
asking them to go back. And they did.
You know, Mr. Hiddle won that award because he's very particular about spending money. And so he gave us a figure, and it was pretty far off from where we were, and he kept saying, go back, go back, go back. So we kept going back. Some of it was just looking at things that we really, really needed versus nice extra stuff that they threw in. We really looked at how many copies do we really need, how many hard physical copies do you need for teachers versus digital access on some things. I was trying to think, what else did we negotiate off?
We had to, there were 2 different kinds of additional sets. We have unique staff, like our students with special needs, our education specialists, our digital teachers, who we all want to have access to it, but there's different combinations and things that they offered us, and we just had to get real simplified and strategic with that versus.
So each school,
Professional development.
the teachers are combining and using same resources and that, so you don't have one teacher doing something else and something else. We're
Oh, it will-
grouping it all together.
Absolutely. The expectation will be the entire grade level will be doing the same.
And you don't
thing.
have any worries about us catching up kids to this point. I mean, the new ones that's coming in, like she said, with the older people catching up.
No, I think between, obviously it'll take a little bit more time to get through the units because of trying to go back and refill. When we talked to some of the districts, they said you definitely, the pace will be a little slower the first couple years than it will be in the future because you have to do that. But that is no different than what we had to do with math too. When we switch a math program, you've got different kinds of strategies that kids learn, and so then you have to introduce the new strategy and help build those bridges between how they learned things before and how they do things now. So that's kind of just part of the process of adopting new materials. As going in, the pace is going to be slightly different than it will be 2 years from now, 3 years from now.
When was the last time we all changed curriculum? I mean, when was the last time we've altered it, as I want to say?
In English language arts, that's a great question, because if you remember at the very beginning, I said we have been doing isolated programs. So we've been adding all kinds of different things over time to meet all the different parts. So as far as the phonics part, we've been doing Hegarty and Orton for 10 years in the phonics area, at least 10 years. Longer than that.
Yeah, it was before my time.
Yeah.
It was here before I got here.
We started
12
that
years
when I
ago.
was in curriculum.
So, 4 or 5 years ago, we knew we needed to do more on the language and the knowledge part. So we adopted Lucy Cotkin's units of study and reading So that would have been probably the last bigger chunk of ELA that we adopted. And I think that was probably 4 or 5 years ago. And then also we've had lots of intervention programs in between there. Like we've done leveled literacy, we've done Fontes of Pinnell guided reading. So we've been piecing and parting it
So
for
now
a very long time.
we're not piecing and parting anymore.
Exactly.
We're starting with a fresh program.
Which is what I was saying. They wanted a comprehensive program that had everything combined instead of all these different pieces and parts.
Super excited about that.
Yeah, that was an undoubtedly unanimous input from teachers. We want a comprehensive program. It's too hard to manage all these different pieces and parts. I mean, the good thing about all the pieces and parts is they've learned great strategies and teaching techniques from all of them. You know, phonemic awareness and Hegarty is still a great program, and we can still use those things most likely for intervention if they're on the approved list from the state when that comes out. But you know, Orton Gillingham is like one of the most well-renowned programs for teaching kids with dyslexia and phonics. It's a structured phonics program. So they learned all kinds of great strategies for that they can use to supplement here. We've been using a separate handwriting program, Handwritings Without Tears, great handwriting program. Again, great strategies. They can still, you know, incorporate some of those strategies that they've learned with this, but it's all laid out for them. It's all there. They don't have to go hunting and searching for things.
Why is that only 6 years?
6 years. That's pretty typical because things can change in terms of what we know about reading strategies, resources.
If it's still working 6 years from now, it's fine. I mean, we can only enter a 5-year agreement to begin with. They're giving us the 6 year of that online program for free, or I should say the first of 5 years for free.
Yeah.
So again, we can only enter a 5-year agreement. So that's part of it, is that financially that's how that works.
Most districts go 3 or 6. That's the, on the average length of time.
3 is not long enough because you barely are. I mean, it takes time to become a master of teaching something. So 3 years really isn't long enough to reap the benefits of a program. If you changed every 3 years, it would be pretty hard to track data and be able to figure out what's working and what's effective and what's not. We can say that the districts that we talked to, you know, definitely reported that they've seen improvements in their state scores after adopting this program. So we're going to be hopeful that that's the case here as well.
So the incoming kindergarten class could be the only class that gets all 6 years of this curriculum. Everyone else would get bits and pieces. Right? So, yeah.
Except that Amplify is the same company that produces the curriculum that we use at the junior high currently, the My Perspectives. So it's actually truly a little bit more aligned to K-8 than it is K-6, but they've already been using that. So we're not adopting that tonight.
So, not to go back to this, but I say at the end of the 6 years, we really like this and we're going to keep at it, then we'll do another 5 years worth of
3.
payment.
We can do 3, we can do 6. It just depends what's
But
changed.
you
we
keep
might need
paying
new books
for
at that point.
It doesn't. It's not something that at the end of the 6 years you don't have to continue to pay for.
Correct.
Okay.
I mean,
So
because the
we'll
books
always
at that
be-
point for sure will probably need to be replaced. I mean, we have an agreement in the meantime if things get destroyed that we'll be able to get replacements as we go. But after the 6 years, that's a lot of torture on the books that we're receiving, because every classroom is going to have to be organized and have sets of books.
So for every unit of instruction, there's a student book, and then there's decodables for the younger. I mean, so there's a lot of books that come with an adoption like this. So it's going to be massive amount.
$47,000 for the shipping. That's how much stuff is coming.
For the shipping?
Correct.
Yes.
Like it's like a dedicated semi-trailer.
So is there a textbook? I mean,
That's what I was getting ready to say. So think of like the traditional old-fashioned reading book where you had all your stories for a year, all in one big hard book. That's not what the kids are getting. They're getting smaller,
Individualized books.
individualized books for a unit or a shorter period of time. They look like chapter books.
so then they turn that in and then get another
And then
one.
you start the new unit, new topic, and it's a different set of books. So each time, every unit.
I hope they're
kids are getting-
sturdy.
And even that is engaging because
It's been a concern of mine, trust me.
Yeah.
See that?
I mean, there will be wear and tear, and we'll have to replace some. That's part of,
negotiated.
you know, that comes with the territory when you're dealing with books. There's always something, something can accidentally get ripped or torn or liquid poured on it or what. There's going to be damages along the way. It's just a natural expectation, but there are also student workbooks. There are each student gets a skills workbook. So remember, when we think about the green part is the skills, so they'll have a skills workbook, and then they also have a workbook that goes with the top part, which is the knowledge, the writing, the comprehension, and all that part. So workbooks as well as individual books, plus all the teacher resources. It's going to be a humongous shipment of stuff.
For that kind of money, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it
But
sounds
that's
good in
what-
theory. I mean, I really liked the theory of it. It did make sense about building on it and building your vocabulary and learning other things while you're reading. I mean, that are important. I was excited about that. There was a couple things that I didn't like. Didn't like some things about it, but, and that's what only alarms me about bringing it in, and then you've got these people that are third grader or fourth grader who are already struggling to be able to adjust to it, and that's the part that worries me.
Yes, but in reality, I mean, that happens anytime you adopt a program. There's going to be that little bit of growing pains where you've got to
Yeah,
adjust.
but they talk about this as being,
It's
you're
rigorous.
going to learn a lot more.
The-
When we talked to one of the districts that we talked to, their performance is even lower than ours in terms of the percentage of kids that are how they're doing on state tests, their grade reading, KRA, worse than ours. And they said that it was a short period of time where it was a little challenge for everyone, including the teachers. But the kids were so engaged that what they were worried about in terms of the rigor of the text, it became a moot point in a short period of time because the kids wanted to read it that they forgot how challenging it was, and they just weren't so motivated. It really became a non-issue. So
And that's what I like about the
that's
program.
what we're hoping happens for us too.
which is what the students' input was. They want to learn about cool stuff. So when you're reading something that you like and you enjoy it and it's engaging, you're willing to put in a little more effort and struggle through it versus reading something that you don't care so much about. It's easier to disengage then. So that's part of the capture to this, is that the topics are really engaging to kids.
So you did a lot of work, and thank
Yes.
you for
Yeah.
organizing
Yes.
those boxes for all of us to be able to have an opportunity to.
Would you like
try
those
to
back?
Understand.
Okay, I'll just make sure.
And that was compliments of our sales rep. They said that in the past, they've had districts request support from representing, and so they just started doing it.
Yes, they put those together for you.
Nice.
I will note that the book in there, The Knowledge Gap, we had a number of teachers who read that, and they said once they read that, they so much better understood that whole idea of the knowledge and the topics and building all that background and how that truly impacts kids' ability to be able to comprehend and do those other higher level skills. So some of the parts of that book are a little challenging to get through. It's not super exciting. It's a little dry in some places, but the content is really, really important to understand. So if you have time, strongly suggest that you read it, because it really does help explain where the whole world of reading instruction is headed in Ohio right now.
a lot of work. I mean, even more than just this year, we started hearing about this coming out of COVID. You know, you heard the governor talk about how far behind kids were. And science of reading started popping up and things, so we've been following it and watching, but you had to wait for timelines and things to come out, like the list of products we could look at and so on. So a lot of waiting, but a lot of work and legwork between what they've done, and really appreciate that and all the work that the teachers have done too. They've given some really good feedback and given a lot of time to the process.
Superintendent, if I may just add one more thing, what you said kind of struck something. One of the other things that was really influential in teachers' decision, because we looked at other programs who have tried to pivot to everything that's coming out with science of reading, and they're redesigning, and they have redesigned it to align to the science of reading. But CPLA Amplify has been doing this. They haven't really had to change anything because of everything that's changed in science of reading. We're already there. And so they found a lot more confidence in choosing a program that has been there all along versus something that was new. They even use the words, we don't want to be the pilot or the guinea pigs. We want to pick something that has been researched.
I think it's funny because they don't want you to rely on memorizing things. But as I was reading that and I saw that, I had to go back to remember what those letters were. And then every time I saw those letters, I had to say what they were so I would understand what they were talking about. I thought, this is the hardest thing.
Oh, when you were trying to do the
Yeah,
code
when I'm
in
reading,
the
see, I
thing?
got to make sure I understand what those letters stand for.
Which is, it was a fun little task because you really think about kindergartners trying to learn and remember what all those symbols are and what the meaning is and how it all has to click, and you know, it's just not an easy process to learn how to read. So it was fun to read. I did that.
And
same
the
thing.
mind thing, I was in with the mind when they
The
started
brain
talking about
and-
the front, the middle, the back, and the middle, yeah.
And that's a lot what they refer to when they talk about the science of reading. It's about all the research they've done and how the brain functions when you're reading versus just strategies like whole language or phonics. You know, it's gone away from that to what's really happening in the brain and how do we teach to make sure we're engaging all those parts of the brain that need to be engaged to help them crack the code.
Thank you, guys.
Yes,
Thank
thank you
you.
very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
Good job.
Good work.
Just one more thing on my agenda is the approval of the 24-25 school fees. I'll get that approved here in a minute, but no changes in the fees. We're still, I believe, the lowest in the area. We do only ask for 3 school supplies, which is just a backpack for kids and earbuds, so they have their own personal set for saying that they kinds of things, and then pencils. That way they can just keep up with the amount of pencils they need. Otherwise, we provide all the other school supplies, which is very rare. A lot of schools don't do that. So for the fees that they pay, we really do provide everything else that they need. They get good quality resources that way. No changes in the lunch fees at this time. And then we once again are waiving the pay-to-play fees, so we're not going to have to put those into place next year. We monitor that on a yearly
Do a lot of
basis.
schools still have that?
Some do. Some have gotten away from it. We said way back when we got rid of that 5 years ago, maybe somewhere around there, that we would monitor it every year, and we continue to look at that and carefully scrutinize it. But we want kids participating. We don't want another roadblock for them not to be able to do that. So if we can make it happen, then we're going to do that. So, but basically no changes at this time. So I think it's a good, fair fee list. And then just the last thing is our prom will be on May 4th, next Saturday. And we'll have a bunch of good-looking kids walking around town and eating out and having a good time. So we always hope for a good, safe evening. And tickets are on sale. And we're starting to see, kids with their posters and asking their dates out and all that fun stuff. So it'll be a good weekend for them. So
Do they stop selling tickets at any time, or is it up until the dance?
it goes up to a certain point, but I don't remember the exact time. Yeah.
The reason why I ask is because I don't know if my son has bought tickets yet.
You should check into that.
Get
They
on
always
that.
put that off.
Yeah, there is, of course, they get food and drinks and things like that too. So they have to have a good sense, plus capacity and
Right.
all that kind of fun stuff. So kids have done really well with that over the last few years. So we've had some really good proms and homecomings. So excited about them. Excited for them. That's it for my report.
All right, so we'll just move on to your
All right.
superintendent's agenda.
Recommend the board approval of the attached school fee list for 24-25 that we just reviewed. Recommend board approval of the adoption of the purchase and attached list of ELA curriculum materials that was just presented. Recommend board approval of the attached list of donations and grants. So Haran, which is our insurance broker, donated money to help sponsor our graduation fireworks that we have each year, which has become quite fun to see. It's a great touch to our graduation. The Block Student Group Club that's formed this year, we're trying to get that really good cheer group of students to go, and they've come up with some great ideas at a lot of the different sporting events, so we're happy that they're sponsoring that, and some of our staff appreciation things that we have upcoming. Paul and Elaine Sollenberger, their son went through Piqua City Schools, and he's a teacher, a science teacher somewhere else, but they still very much support our district through the foundation because they're just really happy with the education that their kids got, and they're thankful for that. So they always find ways to give back. Paul's a big science, he'll say he's a science geek too, so he's a lot of fun to talk to. So they donated to the PCI Science Department, so we appreciate that. Then Heidi Hennessy for the Girls' Night Out that happened at the junior high, which is another great program. And finally, the Piqua Education Foundation gave another grant, so we're happy to have that support. Recommend the board approval of the attached list of library books from PCIS and Spring Creek Elementary for disposal and removal from the inventory of Piqua City Schools. So at the end of the year, they always go through their inventory and they look for books that are no longer being checked out or worn out or just, in general, no longer a good part of the collection, so they get rid of those. And then recommend board approval of the girls' high school basketball team overnight camp to Sherrodsville, Ohio to attend the Eastern Ohio basketball camp. And that is it.
All right. Any questions for Dwayne? All right, seeing none, I'll take a motion to approve the superintendent's agenda.
So moved.
Steve, we have a second. Kelly with a second. All right, Jeremy, you want to call roll?
Mr. Frazier.
Aye.
Mr. Ford.
Aye.
Mrs. Mars.
Aye.
Mrs. McMacken.
Aye.
Mr. Mitchell.
All right. Now we'll move on to the personnel agenda.
Thank you. I was going to spend a whole bunch of time on the positions that we're hiring, but since they did such a great job in their presentation, you know why we need the additional support that we talked about in executive session. That time went through that plan for how that's going to look in order to make sure that we're able to roll out the new curriculum through coaching and academic support, but also with the science of reading and the requirements there, and dyslexia, which obviously is going to be hitting us differently as we move into that phase of what we got to do to support all of our children. So the items 7 through 20, I believe, with the exception of item 8, are those positions we spent the better part of 3 weeks now trying to get through a process where we're interviewing everybody, making sure we got the right people in the right places that make the most sense, and then sitting down with them and talking through why we felt like they belong in those spots. And I will tell you, we're very excited about moving forward, being able to have coaches and lead literacy specialists in the building, and then kind of repurposing some of those positions at the former Title I positions. And so what you see there isn't necessarily all new positions. Those lead literacy or literacy specialists were title positions before. They're county, they're moving to Piqua, if you remember from that meeting. And then, of course, the coaches were under the funding model, which has dried up, no longer existing, and that part of the model proposal that we made in executive session is those 6 positions. So those 3 coaching, 1 for each building, 1 lead literacy for each of the primary buildings, and then 3.
And that's these.
And that's these positions. So next steps will be, we've got to go back now and look at all of the positions that we originally put people in from the county when our coaches came out. A lot of those folks are reflected in here, so we still have to fill those positions. So next week, we're going to open those up, and we'll start the hiring process for that, too, because we really have some fantastic teachers that backfill positions that were through the Miami County ESC, and their contracts are up now. So we really are going to look holistically and make sure we get the best people in those positions kind of moving forward. So that's the bulk, honestly, because when I first sent, somebody got the link. I think you said you might have gotten it, but I'm sorry about that. I apologize. I gave you the notes. So there were only like 4 items, and then after we got through and got the offer letters all completed, We ended up with a whole bunch more, but again, those are those positions that we originally talked about. So outside of that, the agenda wouldn't be very, very big. So any questions about that or anything else on the agenda at this point? Like I said, a lot of people put a lot of work into making sure that we got through the interview process. Principals and Kira was involved in that, and it was a lot of fun to get to know their perspectives, especially with the new requirements and the new law legislation as it relates to dyslexia and science reading. But I think we got some fantastic people to help us move forward. Our focus is every kid reads on grade level, and we see the results, outcome-based results, and that's going to be connected directly to the adoption here and the new adoption we just did with math, because we are going to have a very intense focus on that as well.
Awesome. Any questions for Tony?
Thank you all.
All right. Before we take the vote, I need to know I will be abstaining from this vote because my wife is on the personnel agenda, so I will not be, but I'll abstain. But I will take a motion to approve the personnel agenda.
So moved.
All right, and a second?
Second.
All right. All those, well, we'll take a roll.
Mr. Mitchell.
Aye.
Mrs. Mackin.
Aye.
Mrs. Mars.
Aye.
Mr. Frazier.
Aye.
Mr. Ford.
Abstain.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Now, Dwayne with new business.
Just the new policies come out. I don't know if you had a chance to look at them. There's nothing really in here that changes meaning. Most of it's just some terminology. For example, we thought this was kind of interesting. They used to have policy for van drivers. And the question came about, why did they say it was a van driver when some school districts don't have vans? They have other vehicles that they use to transport. And it just came about because at the time most school districts had vans, so all the policies said van drivers. To clean that up, they had to say, or other vehicles other than buses. So that's a simple thing. It doesn't change the meaning of the policies. It was a matter of they don't just use vans, so let's clarify that and make sure it says other vehicles. So that's what's typical in most of these. There's a few date things that happen, but no real changes to meaning. So if you have any questions, I can certainly answer those, but this will be just the first read. We'll do the second read in May.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. All right, we have no hearing of public non-agenda items. And that takes us to our adjournment. Our next meeting is May 14th.
Just want to make sure we correct
Yeah,
that date.
May 14th here at the board office at 6 p.m. And I believe we're meeting early at 5:30.
May 14th, we're meeting at 5:30?
Yes.
What's the next item? May 16th?
Somehow that date's wrong. Both of those are going to be May 14th. So May 14th at 5:30, we'll meet to do the first hearing of the public for the rehire of Lisa, and then we'll go right into the board meeting at 6. 16th is wrong. I should say 14th.
I didn't, sorry.
Jeremy lost an award.
I did not add this to the agenda. This was not my doing.
Okay, you have it.
I can attest to that.
All right. Seeing no other business or no other questions, I will take a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, meeting adjourned.